My entire life, I have questioned everything. Today, that's what I'm here to do. Have open, honest, sometimes difficult conversations. Welcome to my chronic curiosity.
A little refill there? Probably better.
So, we got... Here we go. Hello, sir. What do you got there?
Ooh. We have a little Woodinville,
Wooden?
a little bourbon. We're about to go full blasphemy mode here. It is not from Kentucky.
Oh, no.
Some Kentuckians are going to be upset, as will some Tennesseans.
I don't think Kentuckians are going to be listening to this one.
Yeah, probably not.
Not yet.
It's probably not. So it's from Washington State, the great state of Washington. Does that leave a sour taste in your mouth?
Goddamn, Washington's real sour right these days. Like, oh, well, let me taste. Well, go for it. See what. I don't know. Whoa, Jesus.
Ooh, it's a heavy-handed pour there. Let me read the back here.
You're a heavy-handed man.
Yeah, I think it was made from the tears of Evergreen State is what it
Jesus Christ. We're going to go there already, huh?
Just full throttle right off the rip.
So you've obviously been doing some dives into Brett Weinstein.
A little bit. Is it Weinstein or Weinstein?
I think it's Weinstein.
Weinstein?
Yeah, I think from everything I've seen, he pronounced it Weinstein.
Steen, okay.
Yeah, I think maybe it was originally pronounced Weinstein, but then he was like, I don't want to be, looped in with that Harvey guy.
Ooh. Ooh. Cheers to that.
Yeah, it smells good.
Salut. It's a little oaky.
It is. It's smooth.
So it's a little bit better about a week after you open it up. So it oxidizes a little bit, and it's very good and neat. So we're obviously on the rocks with 2 cubes right now, but
yeah, I could
it's
tell
good and neat.
It's super smooth.
Yeah, it's a lower proof though. It's only 90 proof, so it's not a heater.
Yeah, it's nothing huge, but it's really smooth. I really like that.
It's not hazmat.
Yeah, no, it's smooth. Unlike Washington right now.
Just dogging on Washington, amigo.
You started it. You started it.
Bro, I literally just said Washington.
Yeah, no, you said it in that tone. You had that tone.
Speaking of Washington, what was it, Duncan Trussell and Joe Rogan? Did you see the thing on their podcast about George Washington and not only being the slave owner, but having the teeth were from slaves?
Yeah, I didn't see the
that podcast.
I saw that he did that, but I haven't listened to that one yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rogan's one of my newly found favorites now. Thank you very much.
When you said that about Rogan, I was just laughing. I'm like, why do you have such a deep-seated dislike for Rogan?
I didn't have a deep-seated dislike.
What did you say about him?
Oh, I don't even know.
It was something along the lines I thought of, not arrogant, but just I can't even think of what I know that there was something about him that you were just like, I don't know about him, and I was like, well, man, just give him a listen.
Yeah, no, I think that basically sums it up.
Yeah,
I just didn't know.
Yeah, he's a pretty even keeled dude.
No, he super is.
He used to be left, but now who knows what the left is, and so I would say
honestly, at the same time, I don't know. I don't know
what
what left is. I don't know what right is anymore. I don't know what any of it is.
No, it's.
I think there needs to be a new party. Honestly,
what would you?
Not even a new party.
What would you name that new party? I don't know. Would their theme song be the Beastie Boys?
Yeah, fight for your right to party.
Party in my pants.
Party and all different theme song.
What was that line from Step Brothers? When he's at the dinner table. He said, "Dale, shut the fuck up."
Oh, dude. Oh, as long as you're not teabagging my drum set, we're good to go.
No teabagging drum sets in this podcast. This is a teabag free zone, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, please. Not that I'm against it, just not on camera.
I'm not even going to comment on that.
Maybe,
Is Corey Parsons hiding around here somewhere?
yeah, right? Oh, shit. Well, maybe we call it like this is only because I have the book sitting in front of me and I just got it today. Like some kind of beyond good and evil party. I don't know. I've become I'm going full circle. I've realized coming back to the old stuff. Like I used to read a bunch of books on my my phone, and I ordered my first book and probably
like a book,
yeah,
like
book
pages that
like
you
pages.
can touch,
It's paper,
and bend, and will become dog-eared,
and you can smell it. Yeah,
I like it. That's man. I've had so many people, and they're like, "Why don't you rock the Kindle or whatever other electronic?"
And I do.
books
I have
are
it on
out
my
there.
phone. I have
Yeah.
a Kindle Paperwhite, which is really awesome. But I felt like some of the books that I really want to get into, I need the book.
The meat.
Yeah, I need to be able to.
The meat. No, that's where I'm at. I literally keep a copy of Blood Meridian almost on me, almost in my vehicle at all times.
I feel like do you have two? Because I feel like I need to revisit that one because I have it on Kindle, but I feel like I feel like books like that are something you need to have in your hand because it's too easy. I think that's one thing I've realized. It's too easy when you have it on particularly on your phone.
Yeah.
The Paperwhite is really nice, and I found that it's really nice. But I think particularly on your phone, if you're reading a book, it's just too easy to just keep on just swiping and reading, and you almost get into that social media zone where it's just like you're looking at it, you're reading the words, but you're not.
Are you digesting?
You're not digesting.
No.
You're not comprehending. You're not really thinking about it. So that's where I realized that I think I need to. Plus with the whole COVID shit going down, everyone's got these sweet backdrops and like they got like the books like all like stacked on their shelves. I'm like,
well, dude, I've got a shit ton of books. If
I got some books, but
donate
they're all
them
in
to-
they're all in containers and shit.
Let's
Half of them are Bibles.
build some.
That's not even a joke. I'm being serious.
Break them out, and we'll start singing some bottles and Bibles.
Yeah, maybe I'll make a bookshelf back like behind you, and I can start putting them back there.
Who was the cartoon character in Charlie Brown that had the comfort blankie?
Oh, Lionel.
Okay.
Yeah, Lionel,
yeah. So I feel like Blood Meridian is my savage comfort blanket.
You're like, as soon as someone's like, "Oh, you're really fucked up." You think I'm fucked up? Look at my blankie. This is my Bible. Why do you think I'm so fucked up?
Yeah. Oh,
Here's a reference.
Here's your pink slip.
Yeah, you understand why I'm screwed up? Read this book. Because I read it all the time.
Oh man.
I mean, it was. I remember. I think I got about halfway through it, and it was no fault of the book that I didn't finish it. I can't remember. I think, looking back on it now, most of it was just me. I wasn't in the right frame of mind.
Well, how many books had you read prior to that? Was this kind of like you were reading before that, or you just got back into reading and you jumped into that book?
No, I've read a bunch of books. I love reading.
Sure. How much McCarthy had you read before that?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
Yeah, that's a different read.
It is. It is a different read, and I think I can enjoy it a lot more. But I've read a lot before, but I think it just really hit me now talking about this book I just got. I think that's a book I need to read with a tangible book.
Yeah, I mean, it goes along perfectly with your Beyond Good and I haven't read that. Excuse me.
Have you heard of it?
I have not read it, but the themes of good and evil are pervasive in that book. And obviously, if you said you were a quarter into the book.
No, yeah, probably. I would say maybe more than I was over a third. I was into it to where I started understanding the story, and I think I just got caught up with things, and I wasn't reading a lot at that point.
Had the judge made an appearance yet? Judge Holden?
So it's been a while. It's probably been a couple of years since I've read it, since I was reading it. But I remember there was this is just pulling away out there. He was, if I remember correctly, it was about basically a young boy that got caught up with a military or a militia type aspect group.
Yeah.
They were doing some fighting in the hills. They got captured.
So you got through the ambush by the Comanches?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh my gosh.
Well, I obviously I can't appreciate it as much as you, because I don't remember it quite like that. But I just remember that they were fighting in the hills and doing all these things, and this kid was it that he was pretending to be older than he was, or I feel like he was really young. He was like 13, something like that, 15.
I think so. He was like, I think he got shot in the back by a boatswain on like page 3. And
there's a lot going on.
Oh, there's a ton going on there. And then they never even gave an actual name. They just called him the kid.
Yeah.
He was the kid, which was awesome.
Yeah. So like sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think the last kind of thing I remember vividly was him being in the prisons in some basically third world kind of fucking
he was
town.
in Mexico.
Yeah.
Had you experienced Toadvine yet?
I don't, like I said, I don't remember it enough. It was probably, it's probably been 3 or 4 years at least since, and I never finished it. So
it's weird, like you're talking about, and I honestly I read it once a year. So I read that book once a year, and I watch the series Sons of Anarchy.
So why do you read it once a year?
It just resonates with me. So there's so much allegory there, and there's so much just beautiful classic language, if you will, and just an unbelievable story that kind of translates to modern day, if you will. In terms of races being persecuted, in terms of people going, hey, why am I doing what I'm doing? And then in terms of good and evil, and just a kid trying to find himself in life, being surrounded by different people and going on an adventure. And I relate to it, man. It's brutal, it's savage, it's raw, and it's life. I'm not completely different story than what's going on right now, but I think you can apply all those adjectives to life today, just in a different sense. So it's just very relatable. And one of the quotes, man, is I'm not gonna butcher it, but I'll paraphrase it here.
That's what people say when they don't want to say that they're butchering something.
Well, it's not gonna butcher it, man.
I'm just gonna paraphrase it because I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna say.
No, it talks about war, and it just says basically, war was always waiting for man, and a man's soul kind of longs for war, and I'm like, ooh, dude, and I think that's a metaphor for just battle, and that could be an internal battle, that could be an external battle, and I was like, man, that's pretty profound.
That is. Just that statement alone kind of resonates with me. And, I feel like us in the origination of this right here, an intellectual battle, whether it be not even with somebody else. Obviously, there's intellectual battles that happen all the time. I got in a Facebook argument the other day for like an hour and a half. I don't know. So, but
no, dude, just let me interject you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no.
The ultimate trade, waiting for the ultimate practitioner. I think that was kind of part of the quote there too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you could even boil it down to a void needing to be filled. People, particularly when it comes to civilizations and whatnot, they talk about you take out a leader and there's a power vacuum there. And that's physics, right? I mean, anytime there's a vacuum, something's got to fill it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even the intellectual piece of it, you could be fighting yourself.
Sure.
That's what learning is, right?
Yeah.
You don't know something, you fucking figure it out. You're fighting yourself because it's a lot easier to just be like, oh, fuck it. I'm just going to sit here. I don't need to do this. But going above and beyond. You're battling yourself. You're battling your own laziness. That is profound indeed.
Plus, anyone who learned to speak Spanish to write a book has
just to write
a book.
Just to write a book.
Man, I wish I would have brushed up on it just a little bit. It's been going on a year.
Well, maybe this could be like partially book club too.
Holy smoke! I hadn't thought about book clubs for a book club.
No, I'm not talking
the man book club.
Yeah, the man book club. Well, that was kind of like the reason that I got this book, to Beyond Good and Evil. It was, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are critics of him, but I got the idea to read this book, the Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. I think I pronounced that correctly. From Jordan Peterson. He has like a kind of a list of, hey, here's some books. Like if you want to read something, here's some books.
The JP list.
Yeah, and it kind of surprised me because he's a Canadian psychologist that is a professor, or at least was a professor at a university. The last couple of years, I think, have been kind of fuzzy for him.
Mechanic of minds that loves flapjacks.
Yeah. So, and I just kind of, and I didn't mean to do it blindly, but I kind of fell in love with his speaking and his not necessarily his ideals, but the way he presented thoughts and ideas and items. So it was like, you know what? Like, this dude's a hell of a lot fucking smarter than I am. So he knows something. And some of the principles and, ideas he's putting forth are incredibly thought-provoking.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just scrolling the list. I'm like, so I'm looking at, and I realized when I'm looking through all his books, most of the books he recommends they're fiction, or at least some kind of weird tint of fiction, like the Gulag Archipelagos. That's not I didn't pronounce it right.
Archipelago, like islands. Is that what you're?
Yeah, it's basically a series of books written by a person that lived through the Russian gulags in the 1930s time frame, right around there.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a sense of what communism and all those things had done to the nation, and the work, the labor camps and all these things. But, it's a very highly argued kind of set of literature that, well, it's not really fact, but it's also not entirely fiction. It was kind of stories put together, and some stories may or may not be true, and it's only partially true. People are going to bitch at everything. They're going to argue everything. But it was, that's one of his biggest things, was because he's real big on, some of these historic things. But I realized that, like, looking through the list, it kind of surprised me that a lot of the books he recommended weren't, historical things that happened, or at least in part. There were some, which, I don't know, now thinking about it now, he was a psychologist, so maybe make-believe it's part of the human mind. That's what the human mind does. So
sure. Two observations. We're talking about a book that deals with warring and battles. Two of the people we mentioned, I mean, Weinstein and Peterson have been through some serious battles.
They have been. psychological battles.
Yeah.
As it were.
Which sometimes might even
Semi-physical.
be worse. Yeah. Well,
yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. So what if, I'm interested to hear so I feel it's kind of funny because I feel like you put me on the path that led me to Weinstein and Peterson and Rogan and all these things. And then I took a real deep, hard swan dive into all of it. And then it seems like it's coming full circle to where you're kind of coming back to the Weinstein thing. And you had said something about you were looking at a lot of that stuff today. So I guess, what do you, what are your thoughts on that at this particular point that, you've kind of, you kind of knew about it because you gave me some breadcrumbs.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I don't think you realized the breadcrumbs that you gave me would lead me down the path that I did to end up leading you down the path that you have gone.
I dipped my toes in the shallow end, and now I've not dived headfirst into the deep end, but I'm wading in the deep end.
Right. So, I feel like you were like, hey, check out this water. It's pretty cool. Even though you only had your toe in it, and I'm like,
now you're
fuck, I like water.
A connoisseur of the water.
I just jumped right in, and I'm like, hey, this water is pretty fucked up, but it's kind of cool. Maybe you should check it out too.
So right. So before we get into that real quick, the second part of my observation.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No.
Yeah.
You're fine. You're fine. Blood Meridian. Oh,
I gotta write that. I gotta order a copy of it.
Fictional, but based on some parts of nonfiction, interestingly enough. So it was based on a book by Samuel Chamberlain, I believe.
Okay.
And the book was called My Confessions. And Samuel Chamberlain was part of the Glanton gang, which is who, I don't think you've made it there yet. Eventually the kid teams up with the Glanton gang. And the Glanton gang is
kind of like the Gucci gang.
Not quite.
Not
quite. They are commissioned to hunt Indians, and they are paid for their scalps.
Okay. And I don't know if it sounds familiar, but I don't know if I know because of the book or just because of
probably just for me talking about it.
Or natural history.
Sure. Well, yeah, sure.
Stuff.
But yeah, it's loosely based on My Confessions by Samuel Chamberlain, and the judge was obviously the characters have been stretched, and that's where the fiction comes in. But some of the characters were actually real, and some of the accounts were not the same. But McCarthy drew off of some of these accounts,
like any good author would.
Yeah. But I thought that was interesting that you were talking about Peterson and the books that he suggested being, nonfiction or fiction with traces of nonfiction mixed in them, and I'm like, that's Blood Meridian. So
no, for sure, and I think, and that's an interesting point too. That a lot of authors do that, and I think that they have a good author has a kind of special skill like that, where that's pretty incredible. They can take an idea that is real, but form a story around it, and then almost make it feel real, and then years, hundreds, thousands years later, it's like, oh well, this must have been real. And coming full 360 with the Peterson, how and I haven't dived into a bunch of this either, but he gives from what I've heard, some lectures and ideas, and he bases it, and from what I understand, he's not a particularly religious person.
True.
But he bases a lot of his, not ideology, that's probably not quite the right word, but a lot of his theories and different things on the Bible.
Okay.
And the stories in it, on how, he would...
Any stories or parables in particular, or do you know?
He talks, he has like he has hundreds of hours of lectures and everything else about basically equating, in a sense, good and evil.
Sure. With
the stories of the Bible, where, from what I've felt, this is just what I felt from, some of the things he said, that he kind of looks at it as, maybe these stories aren't necessarily true, but they have become to be true through the dissemination throughout the years of these stories of what is good and evil, and how to, he really dives into those stories of how.
Ooh, dude, that's a like completely different like inherency versus relativism when it comes to good and evil. Like how you if you believe in any of that or your thoughts on that. And that might be. Excuse me. Let me get close to the mic here. Sorry, that might be a totally different conversation.
At least fist.
Fist. Sorry. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying he I found it really interesting because particularly with my past that I've read the Bible.
Yeah, no,
multiple times.
I remember you saying that.
And then to hear somebody, I think maybe this. So I'll just encapsulate it and boil it down. To hear somebody like that, or somebody in general, to where I feel like they don't believe it at all. The literal aspect of it, they don't believe, but they believe the ideals and the stories and the truths of what good and evil and, what man and what they're capable of to be true. The ideas behind the stories to be true. And him to kind of reference those things of, hey, just because, you don't necessarily have to believe that this story is true or that, all these different stories are literal, doesn't mean that killing your brother is okay.
Yeah.
The good and evil piece of it is still very literal and true. And that's very interesting to hear, somebody kind of take that story and apply it.
Sure.
Super interesting.
So your question was kind of, as I have been wading in the deep end, what I think of.
Yeah, Weinstein.
The whole
Weinstein.
Oh, Weinstein.
Yeah, I don't want to confuse them. Harvey guy's a real fuck.
I think there's a lot of actresses that agree with you on that.
There's a lot of people in general.
Yeah, agreed. So in terms of the incident at Evergreen, is that what you're? Yeah.
Well, just in general, because you
Just
said you
in
kind of taken a semi deep dive into it.
Yeah.
You jumped in. You're waiting. You're waiting in. Yeah. You're up to your nipples or whatever, belly button. Whatever.
Typically, they're above the net when I play volleyball, but Oh. So no, it's certainly an eye opener of foreshadowing. Like holy smokes, this was what 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
And then just kind of hearing him testify before Congress and going, wow, like, this was brewing. And it's obviously been brewing, but, it seems like it kind of bubbled up and, it was a volcano and all of a sudden now it's just overflowing.
Right. So just to stop real quick there, or pause.
Yeah.
So for anybody that hasn't heard of Brett Weinstein and the Evergreen University debacle, as it were, I'd encourage you to look it up and do the research yourself and formulate your own opinions. But I would say some main points is obviously the point that kicked it all off. The letter that he sent the school board, what had happened with the student body after that, particularly with the dean.
Okay.
And what the video, there's videos out there and they're pretty easy to find. But what had happened with everything, the fallout from that, and what the
day of exclusion.
That's the day of exclusion is kind of what kicked it off.
Sure.
So yeah, so just we can give a quick synopsis. Essentially it was. I'm gonna go over it real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It was this college out in Washington, Evergreen University. They have a day every year where
hold on, super liberal.
Oh yeah,
like as liberal as it comes.
It's Washington.
Yeah, but in a very different way of teaching, which sounds like actually a pretty awesome.
No,
way of
yeah,
teaching.
when you really dive into how the college really looked at the education process, it was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and you look at someone like Weinstein, man, now you're doing it. You entered it in my brain. So you look at someone like Brett, and you can tell his passion for teaching and his kids. So he was a biologist.
Was he an evolutionary molecular biologist?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of titles tapped onto his name because he's a smart motherfucker.
Yeah, super smart.
But so broad spectrum, what happened was this college, very liberal, very progressive, and very progressive in the way they taught and the way they, carried themselves and, allowed their students to, because I'm almost positive. I want to say that a big part of their school board was actually driven, and the students were part of it. So the students helped run the school from what I gathered. I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I gathered it. But anyways, once a year they had a day of remembrance, as it was, I think it was a historical point where there's a play that was done after it, and it was all of the black people in this particular town once a year wouldn't go and do their work. They wouldn't. They kind of striked. I don't know, how would you say that if you? What
are you trying to say?
They went on strike.
Went on strike.
I feel like there should be some kind of past
participle.
No past participles. No, we're not doing it.
So I think they just left. They didn't
show up for the day.
Yeah.
So I think from what I gathered is they felt like they weren't respected by the town. They were, this was, obviously back in the day where racism was still, well, most could argue that it's still a thing. But they didn't show up to show the town that, hey, we are a part of this community too. We help make this, we help make the world go around here too.
Yeah, and then and look what happens when we leave. Things start to fall apart.
Yeah, and absolutely. So the school, what they did for that remembrance was once a year, that on that day, they basically told, they allowed people to say, hey, in a remembrance, if you don't want to come to school, you get a free day.
Faculty and students.
Correct. Yeah. So it was, if you want to show your support, or, just because you do come to class doesn't mean you're not showing your support. But
and that had been going on for what, 15 years at least?
Years.
Is what they said.
So which is a great thing. I'm totally good with that. It's a day of remembrance and a day to kind of practice your rights and to kind of remind people, hey, we're pieces of this puzzle.
But then,
so this year in particular, they decided that they basically put the announcement out that, hey, this day, instead of, you don't have to come, it's white people, you're not allowed to come. And Brett Weinstein took kind of not really an offense to that, but said, hey, this isn't right. It's one thing to allow people not to show their support or to protest, but it's one thing to say, hey, you're not allowed to participate.
Yeah, it's another thing to restrict them from coming to their job.
Exactly. So, and then things went off the hinges from there, and then it was a complete disaster, and they were essentially fear-mongering the dean and the teachers and basically anybody that was white that showed up that day.
Well, they barricaded them. They barricaded the teachers in a meeting, and then they barricaded the security.
Yeah, well, no. They barricaded. Well, I think I can't remember which happened first, but there's two videos out there that really blew my mind. Was the one, I don't know if you've seen it, where I think it's the dean. It might be the wrong word for the president or whatever it is.
Yeah, was that when he needed to use the restroom and he was like,
no.
Okay.
So I think what happened first is there was a meeting held in the the common area or the cafeteria or something like that.
Bro, if you said I couldn't go to the restroom and I need an escort, you're getting R. Kelly.
Well, yeah, we'll get it. Well, Jesus Christ, I want a piece on you.
Please continue.
Yeah. So no. So I think what happened first was that they were in like a common area or a cafeteria or something like that, and they were doing like a little press conference, and I think it was a dean. I'm just going to use the word dean.
Sure.
He's up there talking, and trying to figure out what the students want. Like
Yeah.
he's literally up there just trying to be the guy to help figure the situation out. And naturally, when you see somebody at a podium, they're talking with their hands, like I am now.
Oh, I know what you're getting at.
Yeah,
here.
and so like
microaggressions.
yeah, and at one point they started screaming it, and they're the whole time they're yelling profanities, and which is whatever. I'm
Yeah.
okay with profanities. Fuck. I don't care.
Yeah, but come on,
in
man.
the
There's
setting-
a level of respect when
Yeah.
you're up there speaking to a forum.
And they're screaming at him, and at one point I seen the video where they make him hold his hands and arms at his side completely still because his hand movements are a microaggression. And I'd love for somebody to explain that to me because I don't get it.
Bro,
But-
I can show
and
you
it-
what a macroaggression is.
But so basically all was his power. And then to the point later on, they were in his office and there was a group of people in his office and they wouldn't let him leave his office. He had to use the restroom and they literally wouldn't let him unless he was escorted and to the bathroom, watched. And this is the dean of the school. So that's kind of the general synopsis. And then long story short, Brett wrote a letter to the school board and it wasn't appreciated. It was vilified and they ended up calling any type of science and math and STEM racist. And eventually because his wife taught there too.
Yeah.
And eventually they were both just kind of ran out.
Yeah, and they taught the same subjects and then not even being run out. There were times where I think he was like riding his bike to school and he saw like a mob and he was like, oh, these people they have their cell phones out. Like, I must be imagining this, but something seems amiss here. I'm going to turn around, went to the police station, and they were like, yeah, you're not imagining that. Like, don't go to campus.
Well, at one
go
point
home and leave.
Yeah, at one point he was called by the campus police department.
Yeah.
So it was the campus, officers, whatever, and they asked him where he was at. And he's
Yeah.
they're like, are you on the
He
campus?
said
He's
no.
like, no.
And
They're
said,
like, well, stay,
come to
don't come
campus."
here.
Yeah.
Because the school board and everyone else told the campus police officers to stand down. And the students were looking for somebody.
Car
Car
Yeah,
to
that's
car
right.
with,
That's right.
bats and shit. Like, he was like, well,
Yeah, and they I don't think they were trying to play a game of T-ball.
yeah. Yeah. So that's a general idea of what happened to Brett and his wife over at Evergreen University. And this was a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's eerily resounding what's going on now.
It was the microcosm that led to the macrocosm of today, if you will.
Yeah.
And he certainly predicted it. Man, like I said, he went before Congress and testified and said, hey, like, this is what happened. This is what's going to happen. And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And it's incredible. I mean, he has some really good interviews with Rogan and a lot of other people.
Peterson,
Yeah, Peterson, him and Peterson sat down and talked, and because Peterson kind of went through a similar situation in Canada, as well, and it's creepy when you look at these, interviews that were conducted 3 years ago, and if you didn't realize that if you would show somebody these videos, they'd be like, oh, well, obviously they're talking about what's going on right now. And then you realize they were recorded
You're like,
3-4
no.
year ago. You're like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
it lines up.
yeah, like it's super creepy. So I guess that was a real long loop there, but do you understand? I guess I guess you understand why I took such a deep dive.
Yeah,
on that. Once
absolutely.
you start going down the road.
No, it makes sense. I mean, it fits. It fits. It was it was kind of like that was an open board, and that happened, and there were a couple puzzle pieces laid down, and now all of a sudden, I'm not saying the picture's complete, but you can see a lot more of the picture, and you're like, holy crap. Those pieces were laid down before us. I didn't know what they were. I obviously wasn't, I didn't have that foresight, but I mean, people that were considerably smarter than me did, and they lived it. So
Yeah. and they're both very considerably smarter. And I think that's part of the, if nothing else, what I've gotten out of that is the thirst for finding people like that. Brett describes himself as very liberal, and these terms are getting more defined by the day. Radical leftist versus liberal is very different, and right versus, apparently there's fascists out there now. I don't know, but all these things. A lot of people blame Peterson, or a lot of people put the label of right wing on Peterson, and I don't know all that, but I think it really comes down to, really brings it kind of full circle to the lens that we see things through. Why is it always, it's like a kaleidoscope that only has two colors, blue and red? Why? You know what I mean?
Is that some allegory to the current state of the nation through dichotomy as just, two parts? Because that's what it certainly feels like.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that there's much more than two parts to what our country has at this point. I think it's there.
For the majority or the minority?
I think for the majority.
I agree.
I think the minority is...
they're just louder.
They're very, very loud. I think the minority is very loud. And that's...
Hey, we have you at a 10. We could use you at a 2.
Yeah, I tell my kid that all the time. Like, bro, you're at a 10 right now. Let's back it down to a 7 at least. Like,
no,
at least that's my hope, that the minority is the loud ones right now, on both sides.
True.
I could condemn the always Trumpers and the never Trumpers.
Sure. The always Trumpers and the never Trumpers. I like that.
I think that's a very good way to describe it. But I don't know which one scares me more. Well, I know which one scares me more.
Yeah, I do. I know.
I know which one scares me more. But give it enough time.
Sure.
I don't know which one scares me more.
Yeah.
But
So let me ask you this, because this was something that they never touched on. Obviously, they spoke about the events in the videos I watched, and when Weinstein talked about what he went through, why do you think those students acted the way they did? I know. Like, I don't.
Easy. What quick answer? I'll go back to our previous episode, because their parents didn't beat them enough.
Which, and you say that and you laugh, but maybe they didn't have parents.
No, yeah, no.
And I know you're joking. I know you're joking.
That was
when you say
obviously,
that.
yeah.
I know, but I know I don't expect an actual answer to that question. Maybe postulate some theories on, what do you think? But I didn't hear that question asked at all. Like, why are these kids thinking like this? Where did this come from? Where did this sense of that silence is violence? That if you're not standing up with us and throwing the proverbial fist in the air for BLM, you're against us. Like, any theories on how that developed on, and I understand, like, you can't see their upbringing, which I'm sure that plays a part in it. You can't Absolutely. See the things that they lived. You can't see, what they were reading, a nature versus nurture, a predisposition for certain ways that people act. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that subject.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I think for each person, I don't think you can put them in a specific category.
Sure.
I think two people, there's obviously a lot more than two people out there that they're saying the same thing, but I think you can have sorry.
A little heartburn.
No, it's coming back up. I think you could have 2, 3, 4, 10 people standing together, saying the same thing, fighting for the same cause, and all for different reasons.
Sounds pretty damn convoluted, is what it sounds like.
No, it is. I think. No, I would say.
Or are you saying the end goal is the same? It's just how we get there. The path to the.
I would say the reason that they're there, and the path that they had taken to get there, and the things that set them down that path, and the things that made them be in that position, could be completely different things, but they got there by different aspects. It's.
Bro, that was a super ambiguous.
Yeah, I know, super. So I kind of
bring it back to me. Here.
Sorry.
Just give me a little clarification. I'm not trying to call you out. I just
no, please do, because that was even in my head. I'm like, what the fuck am I talking about?
No, it's okay.
It was all there. I just couldn't formulate it properly.
So even in a very simplistic explanation, so you said. You were joking about their parents not beating them, but there could be a slight amount of truth to that in terms of discipline. They didn't have a father figure in there. Someone wasn't present. Like I just generalities. I just wanted to some ideas of what. Yeah.
So okay. So just a couple different ideas. I'm trying not to lose myself on this. Okay. I got too much in my head.
It's okay. I was just reeling you back in. So just
I appreciate
Mike Iaconelli. Woo!
Yeah.
Just reeling you back in.
I was way fucking out there. I lost orbit. I got thrown out there by Saturn.
Sucking you back in.
Yeah. So, I think there's very justifiable things that could lead people to get to that destination.
Sure.
And for myself, I have experienced that. Single mother struggling, don't have the money to go to college. I didn't have a good upbringing. Had struggles through my life, and I could very easily become an extremely bitter person and think we need to take down the man. Obviously, I'm a white dude. People see I grew up in the quote unquote country. So there's that stigma there. But also at the same time, I completely understand and I think that there really is some systemically racial issues in the judicial system and how neighborhoods were set up and all these different things throughout history.
And loans.
All those things. So I completely agree with that as well. Well, mostly agree with that aspect. I agree that erase all those two things. I agree that exists.
Sure.
But then there's also, you have to look at, there's also other immigrants that come to this country. There's people that, from China, there's people from Mexico, there's, people from all these different places coming here and doing these things, and they have a different set of struggles. I think that the place that we get stuck in and where it gets real dark for people is they want to, latch onto that tribalism where, hey, I found a group of people that struggle like me. We're going to stick together. We're going to fight this. Just give me 1 second, because I'm going to a point and I'm losing.
Go ahead, please.
So I think that's one of our problems. I recently, I don't remember who it was. I was listening to somebody and I was talking and kind of formulating my own opinions as I went too. But, if you find yourself in a room of people And I think that's kind of where we're at this point is, everyone's kind of dividing themselves up in the tribes. It's this tribalism idea of we need to stick together for our cause. Well, you find yourself in a room of people that have this same cause. If you're the smartest person in that room, how much good is that going to do you personally? And I think that's where that's where I kind of have that checkpoint of, and this is what most people would put the prescription of more Republican-ish on me, is that independent self, review, the individualism. Like, you need to have individual responsibility for yourself, which I agree with. Yeah, if that's what makes me right-centered, because I believe that people should be responsible for themselves, then go ahead and slap it on me. But as being an individual that's responsible for yourself, if you're in a room and you're the smartest person in that room, maybe you should find a room with people who are smarter than you, to learn from them, to glean from them. Because by being the smartest person in the room, all you're going to do, and this is just human nature, you're going to go, well, I can lead all these dum-dums. I'm the smartest person in the room, and it just builds your ego up. But building your ego up doesn't do you any good. But at the same time, you don't want to be the dumbest person in the room either, because you may be out of your league. And I could find myself in that situation plenty of times. Like, put me in a room with fucking Weinstein. Dude's fucking smart. I couldn't. The only reason I could have a conversation with him because he's really nice, and he would be like, "It's okay, man. Like, I know you're just a dum dum. It's fine." Like, and he would have a conversation with me. But I think going back to the individual responsibility of, if you can't control your own life, and if you don't have your own life in order, how are you going to tell somebody how to live theirs and tell them why they're wrong or why this, that, whatever, or, you know what I mean? So I think that's part of it. And the other part of it is there's so much division amongst these rooms or tribes.
True.
That so many people out there can't just listen. It's funny, my 9-year-old comes home from elementary school and they're teaching her to seek first to understand and then be understood. It's like, fuck yeah.
Solid point of life.
Yeah, like, I don't know what better advice you can give somebody through life. Like, if you can't understand where somebody else is coming from, then how do you expect them to understand where you're coming from? So if you disagree with somebody, try to understand why they think they are right. And even if they're way fucking off base, the very first thing you can do, if you really think you can, quote unquote, save that person or educate that person, you have to understand why they think they're right in order to go, hey, well, what about this? You know what I mean?
Hell, well, I think that's what we need right now. I mean, can you imagine if people thought like that right now?
There's too much Twitter and Instagram and just trolling.
Well, dude, let me reel you back into the.
Yeah, sorry, I
don't
know where.
You're fine.
I don't know where I started.
No, I was on board there. Like, I was drawing it in. So let me follow up with this question. So, tribalism. 99 out of those 100 people jumped on board with the tribalism. They saw something that they were familiar with. Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't subscribe to that particular idea or paradigm or ideology.
But they felt relatable.
The one person, where did that come from? What's your theory on that? It had to come from somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? There had to be some sort of an impetus, some sort of a leader. And like I said, I don't actually expect a real answer we're just theorizing now. But I mean, do you think maybe that person was persecuted in a sense? Do you think they experienced racism on a firsthand level? Do you think that it was youthful exuberance that read some books and chased an idea of something that they thought existed on campus and wasn't there? I don't know. This is purely speculation, but 99 of those people could have joined up with tribalism, but there had to be someone that started this particular movement.
No, and I get that. I think to me, because I have a very mathematical type brain, I think it's all boils down to critical thinking. Taking in what you've learned, taking in your experiences, processing it, and realizing the outcome. 2 + 2 always equals 4. And then when someone's trying to get you to make 2 + 2 = 6, you go, oh, that doesn't make very much sense. Then it's exploring. So you have that's a pretty incredible thing to kind of combine, is a very, pragmatic way of thinking. And,
Dude, I got to cut you off for 1 second. I'm on call, and this is a call.
Yeah, well, no, we'll take a break.
Yeah, give me a quick second.
I'll cut it out. So it's in my head, it's kind of like, particularly with the state that we're in right now, it's, you look at someone like Martin Luther King Jr. If I were all those people, those people, the black people, they want to say, what do you mean you people?
What do you mean you people?
Yeah. But if I were a black person during that time and having somebody like that in that movement going, man, I'd be pissed as a motherfucker. But a leader that they had at that time, Martin Luther King Jr., he was able to, organize them and construct them, and they made their voices heard. They made a massive fucking impact, obviously.
Yeah.
He's still to this day, just revered.
Oh, yeah.
Rightfully so.
So
but how close?
What changed?
So going back to that is, just that particularly the tribalism. And I think there was a...
Hold on a second.
Well, not particular.
Okay, I was going to say...
Not particularly.
You don't think there was tribalism in the Million Man March?
No, not particularly was the wrong word.
Okay.
I take that back. I think that's one thing, but I think that stems from a different issue of... This is just me just throwing it out there.
Throw it out there.
Going back to the last conversation we had, our parents fucking beat us. When we were kids, maybe not, you don't have to beat your kids, but there was an established, hey, you shithead 6-year-old, that's not okay. You can walk through the Walmarts and all these, you see like,
something about when people pluralize.
Oh, I love it. I always pluralize it's always the Walmarts.
As it should be.
As it should be. No, and I think, honestly, that's one of the biggest factors in where we are today. Even because I was a real shithead, particularly when I was younger. I would say in my mid-20s, I started figuring out that I was a shithead. But even before I figured out I was a shithead, as a very young teenager, I would see these little kids, I'd see people do certain things, and they'd just look at them and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're being a real fucking asshole right now. Like, I know how to be an asshole. I'm really good at it. I'm not as good at it now as I used to be because I'm not nearly as practiced. I'm still pretty good at it. But as a teenager looking at little kids or somebody else and going, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, to me, that speaks volumes. And I think I'm just old enough to where, we had the discussion that my dad was a military dad, and the few things that I got from one of the good things I got from was discipline and, respecting your mother, and, respecting others, and, particularly women, because here we go. Biologically, as men, you are typically stronger and, able to inflict more physical damage on somebody. So you should respect, and not only that, but what, women can do, and, or, your man can do for you, whatever.
I was going to say, bro, you better reel that back in just generally as a good
No.
human being.
Yeah, I know. No, but I'm just saying, like, as just being generally nice to people, not even nice to people. You don't have to be nice to people, but you should respect people until they give you a reason to not respect them. And I think there's a lot of particularly younger people that think they deserve respect before they've earned it. And not in going even further of, do they deserve respect? Yes. But what they're doing is they are destroying the respect that they deserve before they've ever even earned it.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
And I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
It's which I guess they call that entitlement, right? Is that the word for it? Like, that's what they think.
I don't know. In this day and age, you just make up whatever the fuck definition you want for anything.
I don't know any of these definitions anymore. I just don't get it. I don't know. But I think that's the point where it's, whether it's entitlement or these people think they have earned something they haven't. I don't think they have. I don't think they do think they've earned something that they haven't. I think they expect, regardless of how I act, you should treat me good. Which, I get it. If you act like a normal human being, I will treat you well. But if you act like a shithead, then you kind of deserve to get treated like a shithead.
But we're redefining what a normal human being even means.
I don't. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're not normal human beings.
Bro, you going alien on me?
I'm just saying, it's the FBI just said this summer.
Oh my gosh.
That there's UFOs that they don't know what they are. Or I guess that's the definition of UFO, unidentified. Maybe. All I'm just saying is, we're just going to make a real quick jump here. Twitter, you got Dorsey. He's kind of pretty. Maybe they got that version right. But Zuckerberg, you're telling me that guy's not an alien? Have you seen him?
So I'm not saying Dorsey's an alien, but he is not a pretty man.
No, he is the version of what aliens thought would be a pretty man. It's funny because it's true, right? They're like, oh yeah, this guy, he's got the big jaw and the longer hair. Like, no, this looks like this is a pretty human, right? Oh yeah, that's a pretty human. That's about right. I think it'll fool them.
Jesus, bro.
But version one,
Post Malone sitting here with us.
No, but so Dorsey might be like version 1.2. Zuckerberg is version 1.1. He's a little more alien.
What's Elon Musk?
Oh, he's version like 1.4 because he's a lot smarter. He's still a little his facial. He has enough like the visual aspect to be like, that guy could be human. Then you hear him talk and you hear like, wait, he's scared of his own technology. Nah, that guy's an alien. Like, because he knows what it's going to do. But
I feel like,
but you know who version 1.0 is?
I didn't even know.
Lightfoot.
Oh my god.
Tell me she's not.
Oh my god.
She's weirder looking than most alien perceptions, most alien sketches you see.
I try not to judge on aesthetics alone.
Well, no, that's why her record comes into play, which is also just as terrible. They're like, no, we got this figured out. We just take the guns away from them. And they're like, God damn, these people are resilient. They'll bring guns in here even if it's illegal. They don't know rules.
Yeah. So no, going back to the original, the number one, the 99 with the tribalism, the one, discipline. That's something you kind of touched on. Anything else that you can think of as to why someone would think that way?
What way?
The way of, if you're white, you're racist. If you're silent, that equals violent. If you're not actively standing up with us, then you support racism and you're against us.
Honestly, the most honest answer I have, and the only thing that makes logical sense to me, is that, and I think this has been proven, not necessarily proven, but it's been displayed, particularly recently, is it is a forced narrative that has been forced down people's throats. And you tell a lie loud enough and long enough,
Comes the truth.
Sooner or later, people are start going to believe it. And I think that's what it is. And I think that's the point where it kind of breaks my heart, because, and I've seen a lot of people starting to call it out, particularly people in that group, where you have this group of people that have been systemically, disadvantaged. I think particularly through the justice system is pretty rough, and it's pretty gross how some things have happened. And I think there's without trying to get out into crazy conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I think there's been a weird thing that's happened that, through the justice system and policing and, how our government has come about, where it's all about money and power and controlling people. And I think, that I think there's an awakening happening. And it's 50-50 from what I've seen. You have people like Representative, I think it's Vernon Jones, who is a Democrat, black man, spoke at the RNC, and he basically said, I am leaving the Democratic plantation. I am, I think for myself. I don't have to have this groupthink mentality. But then you have these, large pockets of cities that are being told, like, hey, you are oppressed, and the government essentially is being set up against you. And I believe that, but I kind of am starting to believe that the people that are telling these people that, hey, and they're getting them riled up and they're saying the government's against you, the government's against you, the government's holding you down. Those are the people that are in the government that are holding them down. So it's like, it's this weird, I don't think catch-22 is the right word for it, but it's this weird cyclical thing where you have, it's a perfect example. So I got a brother-in-law. He's an instigator. he not anymore, maybe not anymore, but he is. You go out drinking with him, it's a phenomenal time. He was in the military, traveled the world, and so if you get a group of guys together, they go out partying, go to the bars, whatever, and he'd get pushed by somebody wrong, or somebody would do this thing wrong to him, and so he would work it out, or push the guy, and then end up backing up, and then the guy turns around, someone else is standing in front of him, and he would convince that person to get in a fight with somebody else. And then once that fight is full on, he would literally walk around the bar once the bouncer showed up. And he'd be like, whoa, what's going on, guys? Like, why can't we all just be peaceful here? And he would solve the problem. So not only was he the instigator, but he was the resolutionist as well. And he would just do it because it was fun.
Do you think that's what society is aiming to do, is to start the shit and resolve the problem in the same, so that they look like the golden children, if you will, or the ones with the answers? Or
I think there's multiple parts to that, but I think particularly in the last year, I think the Democrats have tried to do that. And I'm not saying the Republicans are innocent as well, or either, but I think they have started something, realized that it's backfiring against them, and now they're going, oh shit, kind of messed that one up. The same thing goes back to Hillary in 2016 saying, half of the people that support Trump are deplorables. So you think that's going to get them to vote for you? Like, what kind of dumbass shit's that? Like, I think so. Full circle. I think that's what it is. Like, I think for so long, I think people have realized that, particularly the government has used media and everything else to push these agendas. People have gone along with it, but now there's so much free media to be accessed, and people are going so far beyond everything else that they can't control it anymore. And they thought they'd put this, oh, well, yeah, I got this playbook. We got this down. And they realize, oh shit, the game's changing. And we put a semi-corpse up there that can't, formulate a 15-minute speech on his own without talking about kids rubbing his legs and
weekend at Biden's.
Weekend at Biden.
old Biden Herbert.
Hi there, cow.
Yeah.
I see you wore the shorts with the big leg holes that flutter so carelessly in the wind.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I think that's both parties are at both ends of the spectrum going, what the fuck do we do? We don't know what to do. Do you see that any other way than that? Like, I think a lot of people they don't know which way to look at this point. Like,
yeah, I think there's still some centralists, if you will. And I think that I think the purpose behind our podcast is obviously chronic curiosity. Through that chronic curiosity, it's exploring these ideas of where's the center at? Educate some people on where the center's at. Let's have some dialogue with people that are way over here and way over here. And why are you way over there and way over here? Which are some of the questions kind of that I alluded to or asked tonight, to figure that out and see if each side can possibly understand the other side. If they can't, I don't know.
It's dangerous.
It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. But I do believe that there is still a central party of people, if you will. I
would hope so.
I think that those far rights and far lefts are still in the minority.
Yeah, even if you can consider someone central, just the fact that they're able to hear what somebody else has to say. You know, there's so much that the people don't do that. And I'm really looking forward. I would love to find people that are absolutely disagreeing with my ideas, because
Well, we've invited a few on the podcast, and they have declined.
I have one particular that I would agree, but I'm looking for. I want someone to disagree with me, because I know I don't have the answers. I guarantee you that. You know, I just started diving into this shit a couple months ago. So
What made you dive into this a couple months ago?
COVID, bro.
COVID?
Yeah, at first it was stock market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Made a little money in the stock market.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I was like, man, one day I saw the stock market just plummeted.
Saw these CEOs just slaying it, and you were like,
Yeah,
I'm
and I was
get
like,
on
man, I
board.
was like, you know what? Like, and I thought, I was like, man, something's gonna come back. Like, it's got to come back a little bit.
Mhm.
So I started learning about that, and then, you know, I kind of really realized that fucking, like, I obviously known it before, but because he was there, but I think I can trace it back to one point. I was really watching the Democratic nominee race,
Okay.
and I remember thinking, you know what, man, right now the only person I can think of would be Joe Biden. He still had it then, about a year ago, or well, about 9 months ago. He's still seemed normal.
Old Bernie wasn't a candidate?
Oh, I don't want him to take my goddamn money. Damn commie. No, he's socialist, you know, and I guess socialist isn't such a terrible thing.
Is he socialist, or is he like socialist light?
He's socialist light, but the thing that scares me about socialist light is the idea of Marxism.
Yeah.
Because Marxism literally is which we won't get back into it, but Marxism literally is the idea of, well, we need to get to socialist, so then we can get you to communism. We need to fight the upper class to get to socialism, and then we can get to communism. And that's what scares me, because there's a lot of people that do believe in that. But my process thing as well, like, you know, he was Obama's VP. People really like that. He seems kind of normal. And then once I started learning more about him, and then he started talking weird ass shit, and you realize, and then the key point to me was he went to they were doing their traveling. And he at one point said live to the TV, he was like, yeah, we didn't do very well. We probably won't do very well tomorrow either, but we're just going to go ahead and leave early, and
Hey,
we'll see you in Nevada.
if you
whatever."
vote for Trump, you're not black.
Yeah, it was like, and then that happened. It was like, what the fuck are we doing? So then that's when I started the deep dive. But
Hold on.
so yeah, I think, you know, when he basically midstream was like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I was like, what the fuck's going on? Then I was like, well, it looks like Biden's out. And then all of a sudden you had, you know, Tulsi Gabbard and Kamala Harris and she just torched her. And then all of a sudden, you know, Tulsi couldn't be found on Google, like all these, it's just so much weird shit going on. And then all of a sudden, hey, Biden's the nominee. It's like, well, like a month ago, he basically just said, yeah, no, I'm out. I'm not going to win. Like, he basically just like seceded. And it was like, what the hell happened? So it just leads to more weird conspiracy theories and crazy shit that, like, all right, well, honestly, there was a point where during that whole process, I had the thought in my head, we're like, well, they're going to put Biden in, and then Biden is obviously, I mean, his cognitive ability is just down, you know, just degrading. So then they go, well, we got a good filler for him. Hillary's going to be this filler. I honestly thought that was a possibility at one point because it was just so nonsensical.
Dude, I don't know that Hillary's health is I think it's pretty poor.
Oh, and Biden's isn't.
No, I think they're equally as poor. I'm just saying, I think that either they're going, hey, she has some serious health problems, or hey, we tried this before and it didn't work.
Well, it's because she shot herself in the foot with the whole deplorable thing. But
And,
I mean, and I'm not saying
trying
Trump's
to try to impeach Trump and failing
twice. But yeah, like, you know, I'm not saying. I feel like Trump's probably like doing a line of coke a day just to keep. I mean, because he's like what, like 76 or something like that. Like, bro, like, how are you?
No, he's not doing coke. So
Not coke. I mean, he's on some like Adderall or some kind of.
No. Dude, here's what he's on. So
Yes.
that movie.
Yeah, what is he on? Let's
Well, I don't 100% know what he's on, but think about the movie Limitless, okay? And so
give me some of that.
well, yeah, right. Seriously. So I'm not saying that he's on the Limitless drug, the NZT, whatever it was. But what I'm saying is he has enough money that he could obviously have someone design him drugs. Barry Bonds had enough money to have Victor Conte and Patrick Arnold design him drugs. So it wouldn't be out of the realm to go, hey, I need something that has amphetamine-like qualities that's going to keep me just ripping and roaring and just take that every single day with hardly any ill health effects, or will hide those ill health effects, or the ill health effects will be less than Biden and less than Hillary.
Well, whatever.
Dude, think about this
Whatever
stuff.
he's on, Biden needs some.
God,
right now.
double dosing it. Double dickler dosing it. Because think about this. Excuse me. Everybody who goes into the presidency, look at pictures of them at the
They get
beginning,
older.
and then 4 years later.
It's like Benjamin Button.
Bro, it's not even older. It's like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when that dude picks the wrong chalice and he just instantly ages. That's
Turns
what it's
into a
like.
mummy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just mummified. And Trump
Stress.
Trump went in looking like a old ass Cheeto with some fake hair, and he looks the exact same.
If not better.
Yeah, I did the exact same. And
So-
that man will just give speeches nonstop. And think about Biden. That motherfucker doesn't even know where he's at. And you got a hurricane coming at you just nonstop. Like, oh my, it's not even fair.
Yeah, so I mean, and a lot of people would say, and I might subscribe to this, is maybe that's his narcissism. He just fucking loves it. He just, well,
I know that he loves it.
Yes, loves it.
Think about dude. Just literally, just think about this for 1 second, dude. You are the most powerful human being on the planet.
That's all he's ever wanted.
You're the most like you're getting roasted by Obama, and he says, "Hey, the one thing you're not, and you're not going to be, is the president of the United States." He made it his fucking sole mission to, like, dude, how shallow do you have to be to digest that and make that your sole mission? And then you're going back to, you are the most powerful man in the world, and dude, you're going to respond to people saying, "Oh, he tripped," or he did that. Like, why would you even give them the time of day? Why would you even go, "Hey, I care about this and I'm going to respond to that"? That just gives them a platform and credibility. I don't understand that at all.
Honestly, it's scary, but it cracks me up.
No, I think it cracks everyone up, but it goes back to what we were saying about the position of being the president of the United States.
Yeah, and that's the gripe I have with him. But at the same time, it's hard to argue with why he's there, because at least this is my thought of it, is people are so sick and tired of the Hillarys, of the Bills, I'm not talking about the Buffalo, of the the career politicians are so tired of the Bidens. He's been a politician for 47 years. And you look back at some of the shit that he said. Oh, so now when you you forget where you're at. Now you're going to make a difference in the world. Get the fuck out of here, man. Like,
you know, if you haven't done it in 47 years, just hang the towel up.
yeah, like,
Hang it up.
And I think maybe that's what appeases people about Trump is they're tired of being treated like they're stupid.
True.
And Trump goes out there and he acts stupid.
He does, but he's not stupid, which is
He's not, but you know what? You know what he doesn't do? He doesn't apologize. He doesn't pander.
I know he doesn't.
Well, he does pander. He panders a little.
Ish.
He pander-ish.
But he certainly doesn't fucking apologize. That's
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
doesn't apologize. He doesn't. So for a lot of Americans, like I get why, I get the appeal, but God damn it, he is the leader of the free world, in it, as it were. I don't know what that means anymore, but oh man, it's just Gabbard Crenshaw, 2020. I don't know, man.
Bro, he thinks he's still on The Apprentice. He's just firing people
Yeah,
with
he's
those
just like,
with those Paris deals.
Hey, you're fired.
We're
Yeah.
pulling out.
Yeah, fired.
NATO.
Dude,
well,
like,
okay, we'll pull it
dude,
back.
it cracked me up when he came back after the DNC. He was like, did you see that press conference where he was like, hey, good to see you all. Hope you had a great weekend at your convention. Like all the reporters, he's talking to the reporters, like, and then he tweeted the other day, like, what was it? It was something about the Dow Jones. It's the highest it's ever been. You're so lucky to have me as your president. I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, is this real life?
Yeah. You just delve into
God.
the DSMV, the
Yeah,
Diagnostic Statistic Manual, and you're like, let me look up the definition of narcissism. Oh, there's a picture of Trump.
And it's like, is this real? I don't know, but it's chaos. But I think we're lucky to all of that included. I mean, I don't think if there's a person that's living in America right now, I mean, there's some people that have a fucked up deal that can't be denied. But as far as a general statement, as far as countries go,
Dude, let me ask you.
I'd still pick America.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, how many other countries have you lived in, too?
I mean, no, I get that, but maybe Canada seems nice.
Canada.
Greenland and Iceland seem pretty nice.
Maybe Iceland. I don't know about Greenland.
It depends on what Antarctica seems pretty nice. Australia, but I mean, I guess you're right. There's a lot of great places in the world, but there's a lot of really shitty places in the world too.
I mean,
This is
I'm not moving.
Yeah, no,
If I was moving, I would have moved.
Yeah, no, I would say I think the best way to I've heard it explained is, America's the great experiment. It's an experiment.
It
really is. As far
very
as,
well put.
Yeah, as history and everything else goes, that like I think that's one thing we need to keep in mind is that as far as world history goes, fuck, we don't even know how to walk yet.
Yeah, can we scrap the current experiment and start a new one? Or?
No, well, that's what it sounds like fucking Chaz is trying to do. I don't think we want to go that route.
Chaz is gone.
Oh, yeah, but. Oh, man.
Do you...
Oh, jeez. You had to laugh before that one.
I did have to laugh before that one. Do you think Trump, actually gives a shit about America? I know we're joking about his narcissism, and we've talked about... Well, we actually haven't talked about some of the things he's accomplished, but... do you think he genuinely cares about America? Or, do you think it's a self-serving, narcissistic power position that he's in, and that's why he's making the moves that he's making?
I don't know. I don't think anybody does. I'll even go as far as I don't know if he knows.
Bro, he's on a roller coaster. He just broke the lever. He's like, fuck it, I'm staying on this bitch the whole time.
I don't even know. I don't even think it's that.
I ain't getting off till I crash.
I think maybe he did even on purpose. He's like, fuck, who needs brakes? Fuck this motherfucker. I'm just, woo.
Dude, do you,
hands up. Just,
do you think it was a Hail Mary? And when he won, he said, oh shit, I won.
Honestly,
what am I going to do now?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I don't think he was even planning on it. I think he was just a troll. I think he was just trolling it until like 3/4 of the way through until he realized.
Hail fucking Mary, dude.
Not even a Hail Mary. I don't think he ever intended to throw the pass. I think he was just like.
Tripped, slipped, fell.
No, I think it was more of a, people have that like, I've heard the discussion of like, what's the, as far as professional sports go, what do you think would be the easiest to go into it and fake it? And how, like, and last the longest until people were like,
what's your sport?
Like, that guy doesn't belong here.
What's your sport?
Well, yeah, but that's hard because I know how to play some sports.
One sport.
If I, like, even if I can play them?
Or can't play them. Be objective.
That's a good question. It's hard because sports are fucking hard. I'm going to say a baseball outfielder. Because I can strike out and look good because everyone strikes out. And then the rest of it.
Which outfield position?
Depends on which team I'm playing. I mean, I'm naturally the go-to would be right field.
Yeah.
Because I think I could field a couple balls, and I feel like if I wasn't going to be able to I could fake it, and but obviously I don't look like a right outfielder, but I think I could fake it because all the other sports I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
I don't know because golfing people, that's ridiculously hard. Football, I'm a big dude. Football, I get destroyed. I'm too slow.
Golf, if I saw myself in those pants, I'd have to kick my own ass.
Yeah, sometimes pants can be nice.
Football, the head injuries, not fun.
Oh well, no football. Like I played football for like 9 years, but there's no way I could step out on an NFL field and not embarrass myself. I saw that with Manziel. I remember the only time I've ever been to an NFL game, we got tickets super close. They were got them from my mom and her fiance. They were like tickets that like he had from like the owners of the company he worked for. We were like on the 40-yard line.
Sure, good,
like
good seats.
Yeah, 40-yard line,
good
Brown
seats.
Stadium, row 12. Like we were right there. Like we showed up like 15 minutes late to the game, and everyone around us was like, "We were wondering if you were going to show up." Like that's how like
they were going to take your seats.
Yeah, like it was like, what the fuck? These people are sitting in row 12. Like, and it was Manziel's first start. He was playing the Steelers.
Whew.
I've never, and like I said, I've played football quite a bit. I've never seen somebody so scared to death on a football field. It was when that I think it was, I'm gonna mess his name up because I think it was Paul Olive the soap. Paul, what was his name?
I know you. He's got the crazy hair.
Yeah, and he fucking crushed him, and he did the money sign or whatever, and he got a 15, for non-sportsmanlike conduct. Sure. But I've never seen somebody so scared on a football field, and he's starting on an NFL team, and I'm like, no, that's a place of fucking lions and not even a place of fucking bulls. Fucking, you got 350-pound men running a fucking, I don't know what a good 40 is, but a good one. Like
4.4, sub 4.4.
Yeah, it's insane. So like that's out of the question. I think baseball, because baseball is one of those things, even if you can swing a baseball bat even close to how it's supposed to look, particularly in the National League, the pitchers actually have to bat.
Yeah.
So like if you can even make a baseball swing look okay, and then if you're in the outfield and hopefully nobody hits the ball close to you, I think that's the only chance you got. Do you have a better idea?
I was thinking alternative sports.
I'm gonna lay it on me.
Pro ESPN The Ocho.
Ocho Cinco?
Dodgeball.
that's not a professional sport.
Look it up, Fred.
God, no, it's not.
How about badminton?
I would even argue that the NBA is not a professional sport anymore.
Okay, I'm not even going to touch that one with a 10-foot ball.
Another day.
Another day. Another day.
They did have record low viewership recently, though.
Yeah.
Maybe, is that where we ended on with the bad taste in our mouth?
This bourbon's good. So,
This
but
is
yeah,
delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know how we got on all that, but
A good little tangent.
yeah, a little tangent. I think that's the idea. I feel like, particularly with the environment that we have now, unfortunately, it's going to be a little more
Rocky.
a little rocky and politicized, and we're just getting started.
What, I don't know, man. And there's not one answer. There's not one general answer. I understand that like, hey, how do we solve this problem? But like at least some preliminary steps in the right direction. What do you think those steps are?
Discussion. This right here.
Just open dialogue.
Open dialogue.
Just people listening to people not judging.
And people talking, engaging.
Yeah.
I told you about, I had, by my own fault, got into an hour and a half long Facebook, debacle the
Sure.
other day. And I knew what I was walking into.
Yeah.
But it was a discussion about the Rittenhouse kid, which obviously we're not going to get into.
Hi there, cow.
But it was I saw two people arguing on Facebook,
Sure.
on a friend's page that I don't necessarily converse with
Yeah.
often, and I had no idea who these two people were.
Sure.
But I saw somebody, and I've tried to do this recently. I'm just going to just real simple. There was the typical right wing defense of Rittenhouse, and then there was the left side attacking, the opposition of
Yeah.
that. And he shouldn't have been there, but the right person, well, yeah, he was there legally, blah blah blah, whatever. Not going to get into it. Maybe probably not some other day, because there's going to be so much other shit that happens.
Whew, I hope not.
There was already a person
I
killed
know.
yesterday in D.C.
What was that?
There was a guy killed yesterday in D.C. by the cops.
I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it either until like today. Someone else, but apparently he had a gun in his hand. Surprise, surprise. But regardless, so I saw these two people arguing, and I don't know. I'm somewhere in the center. Some days I'm more right than I am left. Some days I'm more left than I am right. But I saw this person that obviously had a liberal stance on it.
Sure.
And, there were two people that had this liberal stance versus this one person that had a conservative stance on it. And the one person, they were going back and forth, but the one person particularly was name calling, just throwing, can you just being a jerk?
Sure.
And so I was like, and I've kind of found myself in this position of, hey, let's talk. Like we just said, I think that's the only way we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about things.
Perpetuate dialogue.
Let's discuss things. Let's understand before trying to be understood. And I just made the comment of, hey, if you want somebody to come to your side, and if you want them to understand your side, the very worst thing you can do is begin by insulting them and calling them names.
You mean like sending tweets out? I'm sorry. I had to.
No, I don't exactly. But that's the point.
I'm joking.
But that the instant you start calling
Sure.
somebody names and start trying, but when you're calling somebody names, you're trying to antagonize them. You are trying to offend them.
Sure. Then the argument falters and you lose credibility immediately.
That's exactly what I said too. And I didn't disagree or agree with either side argument, but it was just like, look, like, hey, if you want to have a discussion, if you really want someone to see your side, then maybe you shouldn't, be aggressive and call somebody names for no reason.
Yeah, that doesn't really.
reason.
That doesn't it doesn't help explain your point of view by calling someone an asshole.
Yeah, it just makes you an asshole.
And it certainly doesn't help your cause either. Like it like we said, it just kind of you lose the credibility that you had, and people are like, well, I'm not going to listen to this guy. Like he's just insulting this person. Like that's fallacy 101. Like we said, ad hominem. Like he's just taking it to the man instead of sticking to the argument at hand and presenting reasonable facts that someone can understand and having open dialogue.
Absolutely, because that's what's going to get somebody to go, oh, well, okay, well, you know what, that makes sense. But as soon as you're like, hey, you're being a fucking asshole.
Or even maybe not like, hey, that makes sense, but I'll think about that.
Yeah, or I'll respect your opinion.
There you
we
go.
can agree to disagree.
Yep. I will just.
But there's a little bit of respect.
Yep.
That's gained there.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I was trying to do. And it was, ultimately, it boiled down, like, literally, like, it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours later, maybe even more. The one person responded was like, well, I'm not going to respond with reason to somebody that thinks this, that, whatever.
I wouldn't have a conversation with someone that didn't have reason.
Yeah. And so, like, well, even before that, I had said that, I mentioned that, like, well, if there's a point where I'm having a conversation with somebody and I feel like I need to call them names,
it's a lost cause.
Like, then why am I having a conversation with somebody that I feel like calling names?
The lack of reason equals a lost cause.
Exactly. And vice versa. As soon as someone starts calling me names and acting like an elementary school student, like, I'm not going to have a conversation with you, because if you're calling me names, like, that completely obliterates anything else you have to say.
No.
So, like, and then I kind of said that, and then, like, towards the end, and this person was like, well, I'm not gonna argue and have discussions with reasonable things with these people. So it was just like, oh, so you're not you. This is how I ended the conversation. I was like, understood. You're not using reason. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then I ended the conversation. That was the end of the conversation.
Right there, yeah.
Right there. It was
anything
like, okay.
after that is just a waste of your time.
Yeah. And I was like, that's the exact same thing. I was like, well, I'm not going to waste my time with someone that is calling me names, or I want to call names, or someone that's not using reason. So I was like, good enough. See you later. I tried. But I think it's dialogue. We have to have dialogue and have to be able to disagree.
Yeah, what the hell do you do when a large percentage of the nation is like that? When they're like, yeah, we're not going to have dialogue. We're just going to insult. We're not going to consider anyone else's ideas but our own. We're going to come over the top with your ideas. We're not going to listen to you. Like, there's no effective way to get through.
Yeah, I think the only way to do that is to be better. Not better as in, better than them. You just have to be a good person.
So what do you do? Stop talking, pull back, and then if they want to revisit the conversation at some other point in time when they're more sensible, you do, or you just say, hey, in the grand scheme of things, the only thing I can change is me. Let me focus on me and me alone. And hopefully through the focus of me and bettering myself, I can change others around me that are influenced by seeing that, hey, I've grown as a person.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's you test the waters. To me, at least that's the way I look at it. Is it's change myself, change the way I'm thinking, the way I'm acting, and then just every once in a while you can kind of dip your toe in the water and go, hey, I'd like to have a conversation with you. And if they show themselves to be, incapable of having that conversation, that's okay. Back away. Because if someone's not capable of having a conversation, there's not going to be anything good that comes out of it.
Sure.
The best thing you can do is walk away, at least in my mind. And I think I think if we do that more and more with people and engage people, and the idea of this whole thing, it's not just politically. It's difficult because there's so many things that are politicized, particularly now.
I feel like everything's politicized at this point.
And it's disgusting. So that's what I know. So just I know it's getting kind of late here, so we're gonna kind of wrap this up. But the next one we have planned is going back, kind of revisiting not necessarily revisiting Weinstein, but visiting something that he's put forth in the election and all these things. And then beyond that, I know we've discussed and we're really looking forward to having just interesting conversations with a bunch of different interesting people.
Sure.
All the way from aliens and everything else, whatever it may be. That's the idea. But
aliens, literature.
Yeah. All of
ayahuasca and DMT.
Start our own book club, whatever it may be. But that's the idea. But at least for myself, I feel like it would be a disservice to do something like this and not have open dialogue with people, because I think that's what we're really needing now.
So if you, maybe we can end with this.
Yeah.
So if you had to tell the listeners one thing, one way to make an impact, or one way to, is it open dialogue then? Is it listening? Is it asking questions and truly listening? Or what do you think it is at this point in time with the state of the nation the way it is? What do you think is going to make the greatest impact at this point in time? And dude, that's a big question.
That is a huge question.
It's a huge question. And I know there's not really one thing, but we're ending it. We're limited on time. So
yeah. I think for me, it's, you have to be true to yourself, but you have to understand that the person that's looking at you, regardless of where you're at, or that you're looking at them through the TV or whatever it is, that they need to be true to themselves as well. And if those two people, regardless of who they are, can give that other person the opportunity to be true to them, so that dialogue, the listening, the capability of saying, hey, I hear you, my fellow human being. I may disagree with you, but I hear you. And let's talk about those things. And even more importantly, the capability of allowing yourself to understand that you might be wrong. God knows I've been plenty wrong, and I've experienced it throughout my life. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is the ability to allow yourself to be wrong and to understand, but still stand by what you need.
Sounds like chickadee, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Big dicks in your ass are bad for your health. Shotgun bullets, or is that better? Shotgun bullets are bad for your health. Should I go on that route instead?
No.
Well. So I mean, to me, I think and that just boils down to communication. Yeah. It's being allowed and allowing yourself to receive open communication. That, to me, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And and you know what? People are going to disagree. People are people. People always be people. You can't change people because that's what people are.
True.
But you have to allow people to be people. And you have to allow, and in that same sense, you're allowing yourself to be what you are. But you don't have to shit on people just because they disagree with you. I mean, what would What would you say?
No,
is the key.
I think going back to what you said there, the openness of communication. So kind of that self-reflection when you talk to someone else and going, let me think about this. This is what I thought, but maybe it's not right. Or maybe it is right, but maybe there's room to change a few things, to consider someone else's point of view. And you go, I can adopt that. I can't adopt that. But keeping it respectful, keeping the dialogue open, being willing to learn, and being willing to listen. I think that's what it boils down to.
I agree. Keeping curiosity alive.
Chronic curiosity. Aired it here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's talk party.
Gotta fight for your right.
Tempo!